Good evening, dear viewers. This is All 24 nightly news program broadcasting live from Algiers. I'm your host, Karim Zachary, and up next are the latest top stories. Confusion and uncertainty grips Spain after an expected election outcome. A 2016 deja vu looms. Devastating wildfires in Algeria claim 34 lives, including 10 soldiers and 9 civilians. And Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune offers condolences and solidarity amid the tragedy. Also ahead, Holy Quran insult sparks diplomatic fury with Denmark and Sweden, and Algeria takes a stand. Also ahead, desperation in Sudan mounts as 19 million suffer from an escalating food crisis amid scorching heat and insecurity. Hello again, and thank you for joining us. First up in our news, since the unexpected outcome of Sunday's general elections in Spain, both the government and the people are currently in a confused and uncertain situation regarding the future of their country. As many hope for a re-election, it looks like 2016 scenario is back. Salman Asib has the story.
Spain's snap summer general election done little to clarify things, as neither bloc won a governable majority. Therefore, the country is currently experiencing a political gridlock, leaving pro-independence Catalan and Basque parties as potential kingmakers.
No, the results are unexpected. All the polls have predicted a victory of the People's Party, the Conservative People's Party. This has happened, but with much fewer seats than expected, and that means the possibility of the People's Party forming a government, even with other allies, now is off the cards. So the action moves now to the leftist bloc. Now the leftist bloc is, well, on a knife's edge, but it could form a government and remain in power.
For his part, Spain's Conservative People's Party said that he has started talks with other parties to seek their support to lead a new government.
Desde la mañana de hoy he mantenido contactos.
From this morning, I have maintained contact with different political forces in order to achieve a stable government in Spain in the upcoming weeks. Specifically, there has been contact last night with the Socialist Party at the request of its candidate. We have agreed to talk with the final scrutiny of the vote completed. I have spoken with the leader of UPN, who has already confirmed his support in a hypothetical investiture, as well as with the president of the Canary Islands coalition.
Así como con el presidente de Coalición Canaria, con quien se ha abierto el camino al mismo efecto.
In fact, this closer than expected outcome was likely to produce weeks of political uncertainty over Spain's future leadership. Eventually, the Spaniard seems to feel unhappy, as for some, no one wins the general elections if leaders don't unite.
No one has won because the stronger parties don't agree with each other. It would be so easy if they just unite and meet up. One would offer a good idea, so would the other get together and offer solutions to try and improve the country.
It seems that Spain will be facing a long political summer and difficult negotiations to form a government coalition, with tensions likely intensifying from the far right to the far left, including a re-election similar to 2016 and 2019 scenario.
In a different development, the death toll from the wildfires sweeping the northern states of Algeria has risen to 34, while efforts continue to put out the fires raging across 11 states. On Monday, the Algerian Ministry of the Interior announced that there are 10 military and 9 civilian casualties. The same source revealed that the number of agents involved in firefighting operations have been raised to 8,000, with deployment of 529 firefighting trucks of various sizes. This sad ordeal, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune expressed condolences for the civilians and military personnel who lost their lives in the wildfires that occurred in multiple provinces. He stood in solidarity with the victims' families and conveyed deep sadness and empathy. President Abdelmadjid Tebboune reassured the state's unwavering support during this challenging time for both civilian and military families affected by the fires. In a similar context, Europe is facing an intense heat wave with temperatures surpassing 50 degrees Celsius. Greece, currently grappling with forest fires, is expected to experience the hottest summer ever recorded. Italy, for its part, is enduring its third heat wave this season, while temperatures have significantly risen in Spain.
And it's on fire 5 days now, and they have no control of the fire. We need help, so anybody from outside hearing, send help us. Our houses maybe not be there tomorrow, maybe an hour are on fire. We don't know what to do.
To a different news now. In his remarks at the International Conference on Migration and Development in Rome, the Algerian Prime Minister, Mr. Ayman Ben Abdelrahman, emphasized Algeria's pragmatic approach to combat illegal migration. He stated that Algeria aims to support African countries in pursuing a new development path that fosters economic growth and job opportunities, highlighting a shared vision with Italy on addressing this issue. Here's Zahra Farjani with more.
Illegal migration has spread in the Mediterranean, Sahel and Sahara region, resulting in security challenges not only in Africa but also in Europe. The first international conference on development and migration held in Rome, Italy, addressed this issue, emphasizing the need to implement immediate measures to eradicate this scourge once and for all. For his part, and on the sidelines of this conference, Algerian Premier highlighted Algeria's dedication to address the root causes of the phenomenon by assisting African countries in their development journey.
The Algerian approach to combat illegal immigration, repeatedly advocated by the president, emphasizes enabling African countries affected by this issue to pursue a new development path, fostering job opportunities and wealth creation. This operational strategy seeks support from international organizations and partner countries. The Italian approach shares similar goals, and we hope other nations will adopt it to effectively eradicate this phenomenon.
The Algerian premier further underscored the need for job opportunities and wealth creation in these countries to effectively combat this crisis, outlining the financial commitment made by President of the Republic and Algeria's efforts to aid neighboring countries through various development projects.
The President's initiative allocated $1 billion to operationalize the approach, which we aim to see adopted globally. The developmental problem is a key driver of illegal immigration, prompting Algeria to undertake projects in neighboring countries like Mali, Niger, and Mauritania. Further projects are in the pipeline to aid their development.
According to Ben Abdelrahman, Algeria itself is a recipient of thousands of migrants due to its geographic location and large land borders. Despite this challenge, the North African country demonstrated its commitment to humanitarian principles and solidarity towards African countries and peoples.
Algeria faces an influx of migrants due to its geographic location and extensive land borders with neighboring countries, experiencing security and development challenges. As a response, Algeria provides humanitarian assistance and adheres to international conventions when dealing with migrants, fulfilling its duty of solidarity towards African countries and peoples.
Indeed, Algerian Premier's statement shed light on Algeria's comprehensive approach to combating illegal immigration by focusing on empowering African countries through development initiatives addressing the core causes of this issue.
And in different news, Algeria summoned the Danish ambassador and the Swedish embassy's chargé d'affaires to officially protest and strongly condemn the burning and insulting of the Holy Quran in Copenhagen and Stockholm. The ministry emphasized that using freedom of expression as a pretext to protect the perpetrators is unacceptable. Algeria called on the authorities of both countries to take necessary measures to prevent such acts which are rejected by divine laws and international customs. On Monday, Italian airline ITA resumed direct flights to Tripoli, Libya, after a 10-year hiatus. The head of the Libyan National Unity Government, Abdelhamid Dbeiba, announced the actual commencement of the commercial flights between the two countries, set to begin in September, during his return from the Conference on Migration and Development at Fiumicino Airport in Rome.
I believe that flights between Libya and Italy would help pave the way for opening airspace with other countries. The government is currently working to resume flights as soon as possible between Rome and the Libyan eastern city of Benghazi.
Elsewhere in Africa, a suicide bomber killed at least 30 soldiers and injured 120 others, or 24, that is, inside a military academy in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, on Monday, according to two military sources in an attack claimed by the Al-Shabaab military group. 24. Amid soaring temperatures and a dire security situation, 19 million Sudanese people are facing a worsening humanitarian crisis due to escalating food insecurity. The ongoing conflict and the lack of ensured humanitarian corridors for evacuation or aid transfer exacerbate the situation. Osama Ayadi has more details.
The severity of the food crisis in Sudan affected more than 19 million people due to the ongoing armed conflict was the subject of warning by UN World Food Programme. In fact, the situation has led to disruptions in basic services like water, electricity and gas, exacerbating shortages of food and medicines across various regions.
The humanitarian situation is really dire in Sudan. Currently, there are over 19 million people who are food insecure, and this situation is expected to get worse.
The conflict has forced nearly 2.8 million people to flee Sudan, with around 230,000 seeking refuge in Chad. Shockingly, half of the country's population, approximately 24.7 million people, including 13 million children, are in dire need of humanitarian aid.
It's very unfortunate that many of the people who cross the borders to Chad are suffering from severe injuries because of the ongoing war. In response to that, WFP has reached over 150,000 people with its aid and established 2 units that are serving as hospitals to provide medical services to the ones that are affected by the war in Sudan.
Despite the efforts to send food aid to Sudan, reaching 1.4 million people so far, the World Food Programme aims to assist 5.9 million conflict-affected individuals throughout the country this year. However, relief efforts have faced challenges due to safety concerns for humanitarian staff and looting of warehouses by the warring parties.
We urge the conflicting parties to facilitate humanitarian corridors for WFP to reach people who need its services the most.
The situation is further aggravated and compounded by rising temperatures and an extreme heat wave in Port Sudan. Residents are rushing to fill water tanks as water shortages and power cuts persist for nearly 6 months. People are forced to buy water at high prices, adding to their struggles. The humanitarian crisis in Sudan demands immediate attention and support from the international community to alleviate the suffering of millions.
Elsewhere on Monday, Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh denounced the events at North Shams refugee camp in Tulkarem, citing them as evidence of the destructive and lethal Zionist mentality. The Zionist army raid caused significant damage to roads, infrastructure, and properties, resembling the devastation previously witnessed in Jenin refugee camp, where 15 people were killed and over 100 others were injured during a 2-day military assault.
وما تعرض له مخيم نور شمس في
What Noor Shams refugee camp has been subjected to in Tulkarm on Monday morning is the best proof of the Zionist mentality of destruction and killing. The ministerial committee which followed the assaults will also follow Noor Shams camp. The Zionist population is today paying for its silence against its extreme government, against our people. The criminal ideas and practices against our people will soon reflect on their population, who's in need to understand the danger of those ideas.
On Monday, the Zionist parliament voted on a contested curb on Supreme Court powers proposed by Benjamin Netanyahu's government. The bill passed with a 64-0 vote after opposition lawmakers walked out of the Knesset plenum in protest. Last-minute compromise efforts failed to resolve the constitutional crisis that has been affecting the Zionist population for months, leading to regular demonstrations involving thousands of participants. Following the vote, Zionist forces used water cannons to disperse demonstrators, blocking the road outside Parliament, resulting in the detention of 19 protesters. Despite the ratification of the law, crowds continue to fill the streets, expressing their refusal to accept it. To Russia-Ukraine file now. On Monday, the Russian Defense Ministry announced the foiling of a drone attack by Ukraine on Moscow. The ministry stated that 2 unmanned aerial vehicles were used in the attempt, but there were no reported casualties. Regarding the Crimea attack, the Kremlin disclosed that 11 drones crashed into the Black Sea due to countermeasures by anti-drone equipment. 3 landed on Crimea territory, and 3 others were destroyed by air defenses. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that Russian attack on Odessa on Sunday used 19 types of missiles, causing significant destruction. Nearly 50 buildings, including 25 architectural monuments and the Greek consulate, were damaged. However, the Kremlin denied that Russian forces targeted a cathedral in Odessa.
Щоб їх було складніше збити і щоб сьогодні весь день триває ліквідація наслідків.
The liquidation of the aftermath of the Russian terrorist attack on our Odessa continues all the day. 19 missiles of different types were launched on purpose to make them harder to shoot down and cause more destruction.
Это вопрос, который больше касается, наверное.
We've repeatedly stated and can repeat it again. Our armed forces never strike social infrastructure facilities, let alone temples, churches, and other similar sites. Therefore, we do not accept these accusations. This is an absolute lie. In this case, we are talking about anti-missile defenses, in fact, which were fired and which themselves destroyed the temple.
Still in the same file, Russian President Vladimir Putin accused the West of exploiting the grain deal to enrich major American and European companies. In an article on the Kremlin website titled Russia and Africa, Uniting Efforts for Peace, Progress and a Prosperous Future, Putin confirmed that only 3% of Ukrainian grain exports in the deal benefited poor countries. He also expressed Russia's readiness to compensate for the Ukrainian grain supply to Africa after the termination of the export agreement from Black Sea ports.
There is no longer any benefit in continuing a grain deal that doesn't achieve its humanitarian goal. None of the conditions of the deal have been fulfilled, except for the Russian exports of grain and fertilizers to the international markets exempted from the imposed sanctions.
As for the second African-Russian summit in St. Petersburg, the Russian president announced the adoption of a partnership plan until 2026. The summit, scheduled for next Thursday and Friday, will include participation from heads of state, government officials, businessmen, scientists, and social figures.
Based on the summit's results, it's planned to adopt comprehensive statement and number of joint data, and to approve the Russia-Africa Partnership Forum's action plan until 2026. A significant package of international and joint governmental agreements and memoranda of understanding is being prepared for signing between ministers and institutions, either with individual countries or with regional organizations in the African continent.
During the United Nations Summit for Food Systems in Rome, Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged Russia to rejoin the Black Sea Initiative, which ensures the safe export of Ukrainian grain. He expressed concern that vulnerable groups would bear the highest cost due to the deal's suspension. The agreement, along with the Memorandum of Understanding facilitating food and fertilizers exports with Russia, significantly impacts global food security and price stability.
I call on the Russian Federation to return to the implementation of the Black Sea Initiative in line with my latest proposal. And I urge the global community to stand united for effective solutions in this essential effort.
China's foreign ministry urged Japan to abide by international economic and trade rules after Japan's export controls on chip-making tools took effect. The spokesperson emphasized the need to avoid interfering with normal semiconductor industry cooperation between the two countries. Some officials in Tokyo worry that aligning with the U.S. policy restricting China's semiconductor production could hamper coordination and unnecessarily provoke Beijing.
China urges Japan to proceed from the overall situation of China-Japan economic and trade cooperation and its own long-term interests, abide by international economic and trade rules, refrain from abusing export control measures, and avoid relevant measures from interfering with the normal semiconductor industry cooperation between the two countries. We will pay close attention to the impact of regulatory policies and resolutely safeguard our own interests.
Eastern Chinese coastal provinces are bracing for the impact of rapidly intensifying Typhoon Doksuri, which has been upgraded to a strong typhoon category, according to the Central Meteorological Observatory. Precautions are being taken to minimize the potential devastation caused by the storm. For more news making headlines around the globe, let's turn to the news in brief by Sofiane Kantouri.
Thousands of people demonstrated in Yemeni's capital Sana'a on Monday against the desecration of the Quran in Denmark and Sweden. Protesters held up copies of the Quran as they chanted slogans denouncing the burning of the Quran. Pakistan's Election Commission has issued a non-bailable arrest warrant for former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Khan was arrested in May by Pakistani authorities in connection with a corruption case, which sparked deadly unrest across the country. He was released on bail within days. At least 30 people were killed in Afghanistan after floods caused by heavy monsoon. Spell washed away homes at the weekend. The ministry spokesman said 26 of the deaths occurred in the Jalores district. 4 more people died in Kabul, and a total of over 70 were injured in both the districts. He added that at least 40 other people were missing. At least 17 people drowned when a boat carrying migrants capsized off the coast of Senegal's capital, Dakar. The incident occurred offshore from one of the country's popular beaches in the Ouakam area in the early hours of Monday. Saudi Arabian side Al Hilal have made a world record bid for Paris Saint-Germain striker Kylian Mbappe, according to media reports on Monday. Al Hilal made an offer of 300 million euros for the 24-year-old France captain, in addition to recruit him during this mercato. Twitter's famous logo of small blue bird could be flying the coop as early as Monday. Based on Elon Musk's latest tweets, the Tesla founder said the new logo would be in shape of an X and solicited design options from his 194.1 million Twitter followers.
Well, we reached the end of our program. For more updates, visit our social media platforms and saying thank you for watching and join us again tomorrow for more news. Take care.